Happy Halloween, everyone.
Episode lucky number 13 tonight features a special extended interview with the weird teacher, Doug Robertson. We're interviewing him live, well, it's actually recorded, from Oregon, while we are in our happy home in Pennsylvania. Tune in. You're gonna love this one.
Welcome to the Rockstar Principles Podcast, coming straight to you from Rock and Roll, USA, covering the latest and greatest in educational leadership trends, news, and awesomeness for principals all over the world. Now, here are your hosts, the boss, John Ross, and the Doctor of Proctors, Nick Indeglio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here with the Rockstar Principles Podcast, and we have a very special guest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about him, Nick?
Well, we're very excited to be conducting our second interview tonight, and tonight we are interviewing an author, but not just any author, a teacher author who's released his first book. We're going to be talking to Doug Robertson tonight, author of He's the Weird Teacher. And he might be weird, but he's also pretty awesome from reading this book, John. And let me tell you.
I couldn't agree more.
Let me tell you. Let's just tell the people right off the bat, before we even get started, before we bring Doug in, we're going to tell them where they can get this book. You can get this book on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, type in Doug Robertson, He's the Weird Teacher. You can go to his website, he'stheweirdteacher.blogspot.com. His Twitter handle, @theweirdteacher.
I see a trend here.
I think a trend is developing here.
Yeah.
And at this time, we're going to bring in our new friend, fellow rock star, Doug Robertson. Doug, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
We are great. We are loving technology tonight, Doug. We've got you all the way out there in Oregon, I believe, correct?
Yeah, so we're traveling time.
It's unbelievable. Sometimes my brain just wants to explode with this type of technology. So as we get ready to roll into this, Doug, you taught third grade in California, from what I see here, friend, from the bio in your book. Then you got to move to Hawaii, where you taught third, sixth, third, and fourth grade again. Fantastic.
Yep.
And then you wound up in Oregon, and where you're teaching third grade. So I guess before we even roll into like the cool questions, why don't you start off by telling us how you went from California to Hawaii?
I went from California to Hawaii on an airplane. That was me.
You set
I
him
set
up for
myself
that.
up for you.
Yeah. Every time I visited Hawaii on vacation, I had to be dragged kicking and screaming back onto the plane. So I was single and young, so I figured I should try to get a job in Hawaii. I'm sure they need teachers there. It's almost America. And just applied for a job and then started cold calling principals, which is something you're not supposed to do. And
That's very true.
One of the principals was like, yeah, sure. And she started talking to me, and like halfway through the conversation, I realized this is a job interview all of a sudden. I don't know when it happened, but I'm being interviewed for a job. And at the end of the conversation, she said, so that third grade position that I mentioned, do you want it? And I went, and she said, you can think about it. And I said, no, that was as in shock and surprise, not as in I don't know. Yes, I want it. And she said, okay, great. I'll email you the paperwork. And then I had to figure out how to move from California to Hawaii with no money.
Yeah, the plane ticket alone, I think, is going to cost some money, right?
I'm sorry?
That plane ticket alone is going to cost you some money.
The plane ticket alone, and like I don't know anybody that lives on Hawaii. I don't know anything about the island really, aside from Waikiki, which isn't anything about Hawaii. So it was a big jump to make all at once. Craigslist was my friend.
That's good to know. Anyone out there listening, if you want to move to Hawaii, Craigslist.
Tip number one.
Yeah. To find
All right,
an apartment with a bunch of guys.
We the power of the internet can let anyone listening just Google you and get the basics on the bio. But why don't you start off and talk about what motivated you to write this book?
The thing that I made me want to write the book, I'd always kind of wanted to write a book about teaching. I'm kind of a frustrated author. I've got 2 half-finished novels sitting on my computer that are fiction stuff. And I took on a student teacher 2 years ago, and through that experience started having to really verbalize my teaching philosophy and and explain why I was doing what I was doing. And I got to kind of put all of that stuff out into the world. And the way she was responding to it, and then the way my second student teacher was responding to it was really positive. And it made me feel like, oh, what I'm doing is actually working, because, teachers, we're all on our little island and we don't know exactly what everybody else is doing. So to see her and to see Bethany, and then later to see Matt really use what I was talking about and be successful with it, made me realize this is a good thing, and I want to write this down, because my ego is also such that I need to write a book about this. And it honestly, it started out as an exercise. Like, I want to write down all of these. Because every teacher's got funny teaching stories, so I want to put down these funny teaching stories. I have really strong feelings about the way discipline should be done and the way students should be talked about, and I want to put that down. And it ended up book length. And so I at some point during the writing, I was like, this is a real book, and this needs to really be out there.
One of the things you talked about in chapter 6, I think, was about student teachers. And since you brought up student teachers, let me ask you, with the emphasis on testing right now, as heavy as it is, and it's obviously not getting any better, some teachers and even administrators, I'll admit, are hesitant to take on student teachers for fear of compromising student scores. So how would you address that? Because I don't want to give away too much of what's in the book, but you feel pretty strongly that teachers practicing should take on teachers, almost that apprenticeship model.
The only way to forward the profession, the only way to grow and strengthen the profession, is to be a leader and to take a student teacher. And yeah, the testing thing is a big thing right now. But the only way that we as teachers and as educators and as the whole profession is going to get better is if good teachers are willing to take on student teachers. And that was a concern when I took Bethany and when I took Matt. These are brand new people, and part of the time that they're going to be taking my kids is when they're going to be taking the big test. So they might, and I'm going to be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned that they might mess up my scores. But what that means is I've got to be really good at teaching them and making sure they are on top of what they're doing, because it's not like my student teachers are teaching in a vacuum. I'm there, I'm watching, I'm helping, we're designing lessons together. So I'm there to clean up the mess. And my student teachers know that. I said, you guys make mistakes. Now is the time to make mistakes. Make mistakes with my kids while I'm here so that I can fix it and we can fix it together, because they're not alone in there. And then at the end of last year, when Bethany, because I had her for a semester 2 years ago, and then she came back and she was my student teacher for the full year. When she soloed right in the middle, right before the big test. But at that point, I'd worked with her for a year and a half. I had complete trust in her. I would put my son in her class. She was fine. So a lot of it with the testing thing is you got to trust. And you've got to believe that, like I believe, our profession and growing the profession is more important than these tests. My kids are learning. I know they're learning. And I'm going to put that ahead of the HSA and all of the other tests that they're taking.
That's really, really cool, Doug. I like that a lot. A lot of what you talk about in the book, really struck a chord with us. I guess that's what's led us to this point. I mean, you hit us up the first time, told us where we could get a copy of the book. And as we open it up and we see chapter 1's titled Rockstar, and right away, obviously that appealed to us and what we were looking for, and kind of what our philosophy is for what for what we're trying to get out there, just trying to give everybody that mentality that you can be a rock star in education. But tell us, you talk a little bit in that chapter, but kind of your feelings about your teaching philosophy and the whole performance art aspect of it, which I think is kind of unique to you.
Teaching, that's 2 different chapters, but that's they work together really well, because a good rock star puts on a show. Kiss is not the best musically, they're not the best band in the world, but they put on one of the best shows you've ever seen. They're so much fun to watch. and they keep you engaged. You want to be, even if you're like, these songs are dumb and this music is dumb, you're sitting there and suddenly your fist is in the air and you're singing along and you're doing that thing where you sing half the lyrics and then you go, and you're like, how do you know this song? I don't know how I know this song, but it rocks. And I just lost my train of thought because I started thinking about this.
Relating that to teaching. So you're kind of thinking the same thing happens with your students. You're hoping to get the same thing, that your kids to have that same reaction.
Yeah, because math is boring.
We just had every single math teacher that follows us just turn the podcast off, but that's all right. Go ahead.
Let me rephrase. Math can be boring.
Absolutely right.
Fractions can be the worst thing in the world, and students know that. They can feel that. They smell, oh, we're going to add fractions today. That sounds like a lot of fun. So you've got to make it fun. A lot of the stuff that we have to teach is not inherently fun. It is not inherently interesting to just draw in. Like we like to say, kids should want to learn for learning's sake. It should be intrinsic. And we need to get them there, but an 8-year-old does not understand intrinsic value in education yet. You got to make them want it. So you got to be a rock star. You got to be interesting. You got to be entertaining. That doesn't mean that it's all a song and dance and it's all a circus. But it does mean you should be presenting it. You're not going to park and bark. You're not just going to sit there and talk at them. And I've seen teachers, we've all seen teachers who sit at the overhead and talk at the kids and write on the overhead. And that's boring. If I'm a grown-up, if I'm a 30-year-old grown person and I'm bored in your class, then the 8-year-old is bored in your class. You've got to keep it entertaining. And for me personally, I'm shiny object ADD. So like if I'm trying to be calm and I'm trying to be cool, I'm going to get bored too. I don't want to be bored at school. I have to be there for 180 days all day long. I need to keep myself entertained. I need to keep this interesting. And that's, you go on a rock star, to bring it back to the rock star thing, Metallica goes on tour for 2.5 years. They don't just go on stage, okay, now we're going to play this song, now we're going to play this song, now we're going to play this song. There's all kinds of stuff going on because they're doing the same set for 2.5 years. You got to keep that fresh.
So I'm curious, you talk about the park and bark teachers, and obviously you're talking from experience either as a student or as a teacher yourself. You ever catch flack for being the weird teacher? Do you ever have friction with teachers like that? Or for that matter, have you ever had teachers who have seen the way you do things and you've kind of been able to bring them over to your way of thinking?
And I talk about this a little bit in the book too. I've had teachers who have been, I guess you could say, anti-motivation. Sometimes when I'm really getting down and really feeling just frustrated and I start snipping at the kids or something, I think, what would this teacher do? How would this teacher teach that lesson? And then I do the exact opposite thing. Because
cool.
You got it. There are people out there like that, and they might be getting the information across. I talk about this in the Love and Learn chapter. That they're getting they're getting the information across. The kids are learning, but the kids are not liking it. They're not enjoying being at school, and they have to be there every day too. They should want to be there. I've never had a teacher come to me and say, "You need to cool it. You need to bring that down." I've had teachers come to me and be like, you were kind of loud today. Can you, my class can hear you." And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to be, I don't want to interrupt anybody else's class.
Yeah.
But my kids are well behaved. When we're walking in line, I got a straight, quiet line. I might be on the desk swinging a yardstick in class because we're reading about pirates, or for some reason I'm talking about pirates because it relates to what we're talking about, and pirates are cool.
Pirates relate to everything, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see that.
But when my kids are out, when we're doing stuff, when a guest comes into my class, my kids are on top of it. I got well-behaved kids, so there is nothing to complain about as far as how my class's behavior is. My kids are just goofy because I let them be goofy and I want them to be goofy. And I've known teachers to I don't want to say like I've changed teachers' lives or I've changed how people teach, but I think I have helped teachers relax. I hope I've helped teachers relax. I've had conversations with teachers where they're like, they need to do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And as long as all of this stuff gets done, then I'm happy. And as long as they do it this way, then I'm happy. And they're kind of like, oh, okay, I see. And I've really had that conversation a lot as far as discipline goes, because especially young teachers, you want to come in and you want to be hard and don't smile until Christmas and all of that stuff. And that doesn't work for me. Pulling them in from recess, no, I will argue until I'm blue in the face with you about keeping a kid in from recess. I think that's terrible discipline. I don't think it works. I think it's you're punishing the kid and you're punishing yourself and you're not changing the behavior. So I think that the weird is sometimes more just unusual, or I hate to use this cliche, but out of the box thinking, or just trying to think of something in a different way. I don't want to teach the same way every single time. I want to mix things up. I want to experiment. I want to try. And sometimes that stuff's not going to work. And somebody's going to tell me if that doesn't work.
I think you're probably selling yourself short too, in that I don't think too many of your colleagues would be ambivalent about your style. I think there's people that just wouldn't connect with it, but I think the rest of the crowd would be inspired by it. I can't imagine how people that at least had a positive view of the way you do things couldn't help but be additionally inspired by it. So
well, I think that helps, and I hope that it spills over to other classrooms, because I don't.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't just talk to your kids. At least I don't just talk to my kids. I talk to the second graders when they're in line. If my kids are at recess and I've got a free minute, I'll pop into a first grade class and say hi. I want to see what's coming down the pike, and I want them to see my face, because they're going to come to me eventually. And that all, we need to mix in. We need to sit with. You can't just sit with your grade level every meeting. You gotta talk to other people. You gotta get off of your island.
Absolutely.
I really, I advocate for that all the time. And my last school wasn't so good about it. My new school sounds like they're going to be really good about it. I want to go watch you teach. I want you to come watch me teach. And a lot of teachers think when you say, I want to observe you, they hear, I want to judge what you're doing. And that's not at all what it is. And I understand, because teaching is kind of a vulnerable thing. And
well, it's like you said, it's when you look at a situation with teaching and you look at it as performance art, you have to a certain degree where it's very subjective. So it's like receiving a gymnastics score at the end of your floor routine. You take it very personally. And, to your point, I think that's very, very true. And the isolation piece you talk about is really relevant, from elementary, where you can close your classroom door and be self-contained for all your cores. That isolation gets worse as you move on to middle school and high school, where a lot of it is department and subject based. So being willing to not only be the weird teacher, but wanting to get off your island and be outside the box and approach others, it's almost necessary, because others might be intimidated and not wanting to approach you for fear of, and you hate to say it, but to some degree, people look at things like that as competition sometimes.
Yeah, and I like to joke that it's not a competition, but I'm winning.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of. I think that's fun. You tell the kids. I tell my kids all the time, and I think I put this in the book. You're the best class at this school. That's what I expect. My only expectation for you is for you to be the best class at this school. And I've told all of the other teachers that my kids are the best class. And then they know exactly where I expect them to be. And the teachers who understand will tell their class, Mr. Robertson says his class is the best class. He's not right. Our class is the best class. And the teachers who don't understand don't bring it up.
So I don't want to get too far off one of the things you were talking about in there because it addresses one of our questions specifically. Talking about swinging that yardstick on the desk. Chapter 9 talks about dressing up. What's your favorite costume that you've done for either a lesson or a spirit week or a competition? What's your favorite?
The Sneetch.
That's some Dr. Seuss. Okay.
Love it. You get some yellow sweatpants. You get a yellow shirt. You get a blue star on the front because star-bellied Sneetchers are the best on the beaches. If you really get into it, you find a yellow wig or something. So much fun to be a Sneetch. Like Halloween, I've been a pirate. 1 year in Hawaii, I was on a grade level with a whole bunch of buzzkills, and they were like, "You're not dressing up for Halloween." So I dressed up as a zombie because you can't tell me not to dress up for Halloween. I'm a grown person.
And who doesn't want to dress up for Halloween? I mean, that's
I know.
ridiculous.
How lame is that? Oh, Halloween is awesome. You get to be Batman. Oh, who doesn't want to be Batman?
John wants to be Batman.
I am. What do you mean want to be? I am. Don't tell anybody that.
We'll keep that one quiet.
Well, I was a Sneetch, and Sneetch is the most. Sneetches are cool. No.
Before Nick talks more about the Sneetch, because I know he has questions about Dr. Seuss. I just have to ask because I'm a big movie guy. Did you ever see the movie Teachers? It was a movie in the early '80s. Nick Nolte. You ever see that movie?
Teachers, no.
In that movie, see, I'm 44 years old, so I remember this movie from when I was a kid. But in that movie, you ever get a chance? I bet you can find it on Netflix. It was a Nick Nolte movie. And in that movie, there was a character. It was played by Richard Mulligan, was the actor. A guy who was in the TV show Soap. He was in Empty Nest with Christy McNichol a little bit later on, the 80s spinoff of the Golden Girls. I know way too much about this. But anyway, Richard Mulligan played a character who dressed up every day for his kids. He was a social studies teacher. One day he was dressed as Lincoln. One day he was dressed as Washington. He dressed for the class every single day. The only downside to that was that he was escaped from an insane asylum and he wasn't a certified teacher and no one at the school knew it. But yeah, it just reminded me of that. Not that I think you're insane, but the teaching part, the dressing up part with the teaching reminded me of that. It's a really cool movie.
You can tell it's a movie because no teacher has the money to buy a new costume every day.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Especially one from
love to do that. I've taught lessons where I want to do that. We did. My kids last year, we did biography book reports. And part of the book report when they did the presentation was they had to dress up as the person. They said, don't spend a lot of money on it, but do a little something.
Sure.
I had a kid wear a robe and boxing gloves because he did Muhammad Ali. I had a girl dress up like a hippie because she did John Lennon. I had a kid make a cotton ball beard because he was Dr. Seuss. Like some really creative stuff. It was a lot of fun. Make the kids.
That's cool.
Building on the Dr. Seuss question, because for those who haven't bought the book yet and haven't read the book, Dr. Seuss is an inspiration for you. In fact, you feel that he's the best author of all time.
Yeah.
So tell us about your favorite Dr. Seuss book. And what I'm hoping it's not one of the more popular ones, so we can get people picking up and reading some Dr. Seuss they haven't been exposed to.
I think, my favorite, I go back and forth on my favorite, and I really had to think about it a lot because, and I don't talk about this in the book because it happened after the book. This summer, I did a presentation at the SDE National Teachers Conference in Las Vegas on using Dr. Seuss in your classroom. I got to talk for 80 minutes about a bunch of different lesson plans for using various Dr. Seuss books, and I used some of the more popular ones and then some of the less popular ones. To talk about different ways that you could do things in your class, and it was a lot of fun. It was such a cool presentation. Or it was so much like I'm saying my presentation was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, anyone who was there and listening, let us know.
I was jealous of the audience for being able to watch me. But my two favorite Dr. Seuss books, I'm going to hedge, are two of his more preachy books. I really love the Lorax and I really love the Sneetches. I think they're my two favorite because the messages in those two books are so strong, especially the Sneetches. You can use that in so many different ways in your classroom. The obvious one is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but just any kind of bullying lessons, the LGBT rights stuff that obviously we're not teaching in school, but is gonna come up sometime. Probably not with my kids. I got third graders, but it's gonna come up. And as long as you can teach kids that everybody is equal and everybody is the same, and you use it through that just genius book, where at the end of the book the kids are laughing because the Sneetches are so dumb and they're wasting all of their money. And it turns out nobody can tell who anybody is. The message is fantastic. It's great. I love the Sneetches.
And now a word from our fake sponsors. But we'd really love if they were our real sponsors. Seriously, we would love it.
You can smile, America, with Chuck E. Cheese. You can get a taste of pizza time theater with Chuck E. Cheese. Food and games and all kinds of features for a taste of pizza time theater. You can smile, America, smile, America, smile, smile, smile. You can smile, America, with Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, brother, I tell you, I've been having such a hard time getting up in the morning. I don't know, the energy's not there. I'm getting old. The bones are creaking. The muscles are feeling tight.
Hey,
I just don't know what to do anymore to get myself, just charge my batteries every day.
Well, did you ever think about trying yoga?
Oh, come on, man. You got to be kidding me. Yoga, Nick. What kind of man does yoga?
I'll tell you what kind of man does yoga. Every kind of man does yoga. In fact, the man does yoga. That's DDP Yoga. Diamond Dallas Page, the master of the diamond cutter, has come up with a unique and revolutionary system of yoga that is dynamic, that gets the blood flowing. It's not static. This isn't your mom's yoga. This is big-time yoga. Now, DDP, this man, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, he didn't become a pro wrestler until he was 35 years old. How did he keep his body fit? He's almost 60 years old now. How is he still a model of precision from a physical specimen? You've got to get DDP Yoga. John, you got to give it a shot. DDP Yoga. Feel the bang! I'll make you cringe now for a minute, because one of the things you discuss in your book is how, of course, Hollywood has butchered the majority of Dr. Seuss's works onto screen. But my 5-year-old, I guess when she was 4, I guess it was about a year ago, the Lorax movie that they made had come out in our $2 movie theater locally, and Bella hadn't been to the movie theater at all. She didn't know what that was like, so I took her to see it. And despite myself, I enjoyed it. Some of those songs were kind of catchy. And that was one where I don't think the message was totally lost in the glitz and the glamour of the the Hollywood translation.
I'm terrible and judgy, so I saw the Jim Carrey Grinch and was like, I'm never doing this ever again. So I didn't see the Horton Hears a Who one, and I didn't see the Lorax one, and I didn't see the
Me neither.
Myers travesty.
Oh God, the Cat in the Hat, yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably good. I'm not going to go. Just like I didn't see the new Star Trek, because why is Khan in the new Star Trek? Khan, we already did Khan. Why are you doing Khan again? Give me a break, guys. It'd be really off topic.
Now Star Trek is, with our love of Ultraman.
There's no such thing as off topic, by the way, on the Rockstar Principles podcast. We go from Ultraman to restorative practices in the matter of 5 minutes. So nothing's off topic on here.
Yeah. So, and then I really like Yertle the Turtle is a fun one that not a whole lot of people know. And then her name just went away. The one with the bird that eats the seeds and her tail gets really long.
Man, got me on that one.
Well, we got our executive producer, my brother, is he's been not tweeting within our chat. He's been sending us links, so we're going to see how good he really is.
Well, he does that. Let's talk about us, Doug.
Gertrude McFuzz.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Way to go, Mike. Nice work, Michael.
Gertrude is great because when it was written, if you read it now, because it's about a bird who eats berries and it makes her tail really, really long and really, really pretty, but then she can't fly because her tail is so long and so pretty, which to us in 2013 sounds like I'm getting Botoxed and I can't smile anymore. But when it came out in the 50s or the 40s, it was not about any of that kind of stuff because plastic surgery was not in vogue. It was not a fashion statement at the time. It was about something else completely. So it's cool how the meaning of that particular story has evolved as we've evolved.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what I was going to next, if I can get back to talking about administrators and education. A lot of our listeners are going to be principals, people that are in educational administration. Without giving too much away from your book, just kind of talk about the teacher-administrator relationship, things that that you feel are important for administrators, and then one of the questions we kind of gave to you ahead of time is, if you were an administrator, what would you be looking for from teachers?
I feel like I would be a really, and this is one of the more egotistical things I'm going to say tonight. I would be a really good administrator, and I would not like my job. It doesn't sound like a fun job to me at all. And I might be wrong. It might be really fun, but it doesn't sound like fun sitting in meetings and doing paperwork.
It has its moments.
No, we're like completely silent.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you.
Before you continue with that, Doug, I will frequently try to make myself a martyr and get my wife to feel sorry for me, after a particularly bad day, to which her response is always, every time I come to your office, you guys are sitting around laughing, eating, drinking, and having a good old time. I'm like, well, you just happen to walk in at those times.
Yeah, how convenient. That just happens to be when she's walking in.
But I digress. Back to the answer.
But as far as what I want from an administrator, and I thought about this a lot when I was writing the chapter, and I think it comes from my background in athletics. I want an administrator who is a strong leader with a capital L. I want somebody who has a vision for the school and is not afraid to tell me what the vision is and then tell me how they want me to go get the vision. Make me want to do it. Just like I'm supposed to make my kids want to learn how to divide fractions, make me want to look at data. Convince me that this stuff is cool, aside from I'm a professional and this is something that is important for my job. Because the principal drives the school. And I'm all for debate. I'm all for you telling the staff, this is the kind of stuff that I want to do. Let's talk about it. But at the end of the day, I need a principal who's going to say, okay, we've talked about it and I've heard all your opinions and now this is what we're going to do. And if a teacher says, oh, well, the principal says, no, you don't understand. We talked about it and now this is what we're going to do. I need you to come along with me. I'm the boss. I'm going to lead us. And that sounds brutal. It sounds like it wouldn't be any fun, but you're going to get something done that way. I want a principal who's going to be strong and forceful and have an opinion. Now, that doesn't mean I want a principal who they say something and I disagree and I'll go to their office later, because I'm not going to do it in the middle of a meeting if it's a strong disagreement. I'm not going to pick a fight with my principal in front of everybody. That's cool.
Good. That's good advice.
But I'm going to go to your office, and I want you to be willing to say, okay, tell me what you disagree with. And as long as I don't go, you're an idiot, as long as I go, well, you want us to do this and this and this, and I don't like it, and this is why, and this is what I would do instead, and you listen to me, that's what I want. I've gone to my principal plenty of times. I've been really lucky with principals for the most part. And I've gone to principals and said, I want to do this, or I don't think we should be doing this. And I've had the principal say, that's nice. This is what we're going to do, and this is why. And I'm fine with that. If you listen to me and then explain what you want, I understand. And I don't think that makes me a good little worker drone. That makes me someone who understands the chain of command, and you're at the top as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, we got the superintendent and all of those other people that really don't know what's going on in the school. But as far as our school goes, you're the head honcho. So you tell me what I'm supposed to do.
And I think you'll find that principals respond a lot better to that. I mean, aside from the obvious, but I know I've had the same kind of discussions with teachers over my 10 plus years as a building principal, and it's I actually enjoy those conversations. I enjoy people that are pushing me as the leader. I enjoy talking to teachers who disagree with me on things, who are able to do it respectfully and who are able to have the conversation and not just a bitch session, or not just somebody who wants to get something off their chest, but somebody who feels like they have something to offer, but also feels like they want to learn from what I have to say too.
Yeah, and I think part of what happens with teachers is, and this is part of the reason we get so snowed when it comes to political stuff too, is a lot of teachers, we want to get our heads down, we're in our classroom, and we just want to work. Just leave me alone. I have 23 or 25 or 30 or however many kids that are depending on me to teach them how to do this thing tomorrow. So I'm going to be grumpy about you, and I'm going to grumble about it in the lunchroom, but that's all I'm going to do. And that's worse. That's way more dangerous and way more destructive than I'm going to go to you and I'm going to say, this is the problem that I have. I'm going to write a letter to the newspaper if something politically is happening, and I'm going to make it clear the problem that I have. That's so much more healthy and such a better way to get something done. I want something to get fixed if I'm upset about it. I'm not a subtle person. I can barely spell subtle. So if I have a problem, I'm going to let you know. And I just feel like things would be better. We would get more done if more teachers did something like that.
So how do you think you would do as a principal? You talked about how you think you'd be great, but how would you do in working with your teachers? It would be difficult not to want an entire building of people that have the same fire, the same passion that you have, the same excitement, the same joy for learning that you have. Is that part of what turns you off to the job, is knowing that you wouldn't be able to have everybody, the entire building teaching that with that sort of passion and attitude?
If I was the principal, part of my job would be to, and this is easier said than done, make everybody feel the way I feel about their job. Because there's going to be some teachers that are a year or two out from retirement that are counting days. And I'm not saying every teacher that's about to retire is counting days, but there are, there's people out there like that. My job is to make that teacher counting days care again. That's part of what I have to do, and that's going to be hard. If I was a principal, I really do think that I would get a lot of transfers that first year, or those first 2 years. I think there would be a lot of friction at the beginning, because I want everybody to, let me say this right. I want everybody to like being at school. I want everybody to like working with me. I don't need to be everybody's friend. That's not your job. But that's not to say I don't want to be your friend. Come talk to me. We'll hang out after school, and at school we'll work together, and we'll disagree, and we'll both remember that I'm slightly higher on the pay scale than you are right now. So I feel like I would lose some teachers, but I feel like I would lose teachers that I didn't want around. The people who would disagree with the way I did things would be the people that shouldn't be at a school that I'm trying to run, if that makes sense. They would not fit in with the overall vision that I would have for the school.
It's interesting. We talk a lot about the research across the podcast, and that process it takes about 7 years, is what everyone's saying. So by the time the teachers who aren't going to get on the bus and sit in the right seats, they'll find their way out, and by the time you get to hire enough of your replacements, the sweet spot comes in at about year 7. So it's if you're a teacher out there looking for a job, and you really want to ask a serious question at the end of an interview, and that's something John and I just talked about in an earlier podcast, I'd want to know how long that principal's been in the building.
But you know what? Doug said something that really touched a nerve with me, because one of the greatest compliments I've gotten in my years as a principal, I had a teacher who just retired last year, and I started in my building in 2010. He just retired last year. And he said, you know what? I was planning on retiring after your first year here, but I enjoyed working with you so much, I stuck around for another 2 years.
Wow.
And that was one of the greatest things I've ever heard. You know, that this guy, and he still had the fire in his belly. I tried to beg him to come back for another year.
Yeah, he went out on top. I mean, this was the kind of guy who
Right.
that his opinion you've respected.
Yeah.
It's not,
Go
wasn't
to, go to him to get feedback from him about the way things going in school and everything. There's people like that you can never replace. You just hope to have one person on your staff that can hold on that long.
That's
So
awesome. And that I've never heard that 7-year thing. 7 years feels like a really long time, but it makes sense because it takes a long time to get anything really done, especially when you've got a big group. And the bigger the group, the more unwieldy any kind of change is going to be. And on top of that, 7 years, we're going to get. 7 years ago, we weren't talking about Common Core. So on top of trying to fix the way your school is acting, you're also trying to roll with all of the punches that are falling down on us from on high.
Yeah.
And I think that number too, and I'm sure you've seen it, Doug, and you did say earlier you've been blessed with good principals, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but there are people who go into the principalship and they want to use it as a stepping stone to the next thing, a director of whatever the title is, an assistant superintendent, and eventually superintendent. And it's fine to have those goals, but to really make a difference, and we use that 7 years as an example, you got to put the time in. And, it's interesting to look at those numbers sometimes and to see what comes down the pike.
I can't even conceive of people wanting to move further away from the classroom. But
It's
why?
How far from the kids can we get?
Why did you get into this if you don't want to be near the kids? That's the biggest reason I wouldn't.
Summer's off, right? Summer's off.
Well, and it's really, you know what it becomes, quite honestly, it becomes a feeling of being a middle manager. I think a lot of people don't realize when they get into the principalship that everything flows. And you know what I mean when I say everything is flowing in your direction, because you're answering the teachers, you're answering the parents, you're answering the bosses, school board members, community members. Everybody's looking at you. And, a lot of people aren't ready for that. So they make that first move and they don't realize that, if they go up the chain a little bit more, then maybe there won't be so much flowing in their direction. They can start pushing more in other people's direction. So. All
right, so we're hitting our time limit here, so we have to get to the most important question of all. I know you've prepped for this. I know you've been thinking hard. So let me lay it out there for you. Doug Robertson, the weird teacher. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
This is a tricky question because the easy answer is Batman, because everybody loves Batman. But there's so many itinerations of Batman. Like Christopher Nolan made 2.5 amazing Batman movies.
2.5.
But that Batman, not my favorite Batman, because he hates being Batman. Not once in that movie does he enjoy being Batman.
That's true.
That's the biggest difference between Batman and Iron Man. They're both rich guys who have an awesome suit. But Iron Man loves being Iron Man, and Batman, at least in the Nolan movies, hates being Batman. So if you were going to be Batman, you got to be like Batman the Animated Series Batman. That guy was great. The voice acting on that show was great. The animation style was great. Batman knew how to smile. Mark Hamill was the Joker. That's a good Batman.
Yeah.
But
that would be my favorite animated version of Batman for sure.
Oh, it might be the best version of Batman. Aside from the second Nolan movie, which is a masterpiece. It's incredible.
Yeah, agreed.
But if I wasn't going to go with Batman, if I wanted to be like, I'm not going to go with the one everybody else picks, I'd have to go with Hellboy. Because Mike Mignola's art on the comics, the graphic novels for the Hellboy comics, it's beautiful. It's really unique looking. The writing is really cool. And then both movies, I mean, Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro, you can't argue with Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro. They win. They win the argument.
They win every time. Although I gotta be honest with you on that one, Doug. With del Toro, I've got a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I just finished his vampire trilogy, and the ending left me a little flat. I felt like they built up this amazing world, and they tried to create a resolution, and they did, but then just very disappointing.
His book?
The trilogy, and figures, the name's escaping me right now. I'm waiting for my my producer here to pop it up on the screen for me. It was the trilogy. He's trying to sell it to HBO right now. Get the vampires.
Oh, I haven't read it. I'm obsessed with Pacific Rim right now. His summer.
We just watched it this summer, or not this summer, this past weekend, and I was texting John. I'm like, this is like Ultraman on steroids and crack.
It's so much fun. I saw it 3 times in the theater, and I never do that. Like, oh my god, it's such a cool movie, and it's not like people. It's a dumb movie. The preview had a giant monster punch a giant robot in the face.
Ultraman.
The movie is. What were you expecting? Were you expecting Shakespeare? Because that's not a giant monster and a giant robot punching each other in the face. I loved it. It's so much.
And who doesn't want that? The producer came through for us, Doug. The Fall. It's the stream.
Okay, I have heard of it.
Yeah. First 2 books phenomenal. The third one it jumps the shark a little bit.
Yeah, I got to tap out on this one. You guys are losing me.
Yeah. They're vampires,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So, Doug, anything else we didn't cover you want to talk about? Anything you want to mention about your book? Something to make it appealing, even more appealing? This is just an absolute fantastic read for anybody. I would highly recommend it. But anything we didn't cover that you'd like to mention before we
I really appreciate you guys saying such nice things about the book. It really means a lot. When you write something like that, like I was saying, we're so insular. When you're teaching, you're just on your own little island, and you've got these little ideas about, I think this is a good idea, I think this works, I think this is a good way to do it, and then you have the ego to put it in a book and then to publish it, and you hope that when other people read it, you get more of what you got when your student teachers reacted well to it, and so far the reaction has been really, really positive, and that's it's kind of it's really cool. It's really exciting, and I appreciate you guys talking about it. I would, if somebody was going to read it, one of the things I want them to take away from it is the discipline chapters, the chapters about empathy.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that. Yeah.
I'm so proud of how the weird kid chapter came out, and talking about how all of our kids are weird kids, and how in order to be a really good teacher, you have to be empathetic with all of them, even the ones that you look at and you're like, I don't know where you are, I don't know where you're coming from, I don't know what's going on with you, and I kind of want to pick you up by your ears like the Trunchbull. You need to find a way to get to feel for that kid, because they can tell when you don't, and it makes you a better teacher when you have empathy. I'm really proud of how that chapter came out. And then the chapters on discipline, like I talked about earlier with the recess thing, you got to be focused on the purpose of discipline. It's not to be mean to kids. It's not to punish kids. It's to change behaviors. Teachers, I think, should really read those chapters. And then there's a lot of funny stuff in there. It's my book, so I'm going to sell it. I'm going to tell you that it's really the bodily functions chapter makes me laugh out loud when I read it, and that's probably weird, but I think it's a hilarious chapter.
No, it is, and there's great stuff on working with parents as well. We didn't even get into that, but it's a great read for anybody that's in the education field, and I agree. I mean, student teachers, this would be an outstanding read for folks getting into the profession, just to get a feel for your mentality, the way you do things, and I tell you, I know I speak for Nick. We'd love to have a building full of teachers like you. I mean, we got some outstanding teachers, both of us, but we would hire you in a heartbeat. If you ever make a trip to the East Coast, be sure and look us up.
And while we're on that topic, let's plug Doug away right now. Look, if you want to take a read of this book, and I know you do because you've been listening to this podcast, you've heard some awesome stuff, you want to go on Amazon. You want to put Doug Robertson in that little search box, and you're going to see a book pop up. It's going to be a little person's head peering over the cover.
Is that Doug? Would that be you,
Doug's
Doug?
Not a little person, but on the book, it's in the bottom corner there. Yeah, that's his head. And it's called He's the Weird Teacher and Other Things Students Whisper About Me. Buy it on Amazon. You can get it electronically. You can get it in paperback. Then go to his website, he'stheweirdteacher.blogspot.com, And after you go there and read some awesome blog, you're going to go to Twitter and you're going to follow Doug at The Weird Teacher. Look, we're going to post these links for you folks, but the bottom line is, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, you got to buy this book, you got to read it, you got to follow Doug, and you got to get on board with this.
You quote Stone Cold Steve Austin, and now I'm even more of a fan. Yeah, find me on Twitter and tweet at me, argue with me, or tell me you love the book, and that would be fantastic. It's also, because Amazon does paperback and the Kindle, it's also in the Barnes & Noble Nook store if you have a Nook instead, so you can find it for your Nook too. If
All
you
right,
go
that's
to the Nook store and search for He's the Weird Teacher. Don't search for the subtitle and other things students whisper about me. That's not in any of the search fields, so don't put that
Gotcha.
in. He's the Weird Teacher and my name, and that'll come up. And it should come up just if you put it into the Googles. The Google should kick that back out at you too.
Yeah, the interwebs will find you. That's good to know.
That's great. Well, Doug Robertson, thank you so much for joining us on the Rockstar Principles podcast. I'm sure we'll touch base again sometime in the near future. All right.
Hey, anytime you want me to come on, I'm more than happy to. This was a great time.
We'll have you on our first round table. We're gonna get to see. So we've had Dina Wirt, we had our principal friend, now we got a teacher, and maybe we can get somebody at another level. And we can maybe do an education roundtable. Maybe we get Doug to be a part of that. That'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. We'll bring him in for that. West Coast, East Coast.
I'm in. That would be great.
All right, thanks. Have a great night, and we're gonna shut out the lights here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, take it easy, Doug.
Bye.
Thanks for helping RSP top the charts in the Edu podcast world. Keep it real with Twisted Steel and School Appeal.